1,000 years after the crucifixion of Christ, the holy city of Jerusalem was sieged by the Seljuk Turks. The Pope, Urban II, beseeched all Christians to unite in a great crusade.
Go forward boldly as knights of Christ, hurrying swiftly to defend the church.
His call was heeded by commoners and nobles alike. Among them, a new order of knights who pledged their lives to retake the Holy Land. Warrior monks fighting for God and ultimately betrayed by their own church. In 1189, the Holy Land was a battleground between Christians and Muslims. Both armies believe that God is on their side. At the place of honor in the Crusader lines, Gerard de Riedfort commanded Allah's worthiest foe, the Knights Templar.
These men, brave and rigorous in arms, have struck hard with frequent attacks, both secretly and openly, so that those who previously terrorized us now regard themselves as most happy if they are permitted to live in peace.
So terrible were the Templars that the great Muslim general Saladin showed no mercy when they fell into his hands. The fiery heart of the enemy is what he called the Templars. These, more than all the others, destroy the Arab religion and slaughter us. With fire in his heart, Gerard de Riedfort prepared to lead his knights once more into battle. 71 years earlier, the Knights Templar were just 9 in number. Two French nobles, Hugh de Payon and Godfrey de Saint-Omer, joined with 7 other knights to dedicate their entire lives to the service of the Holy Land. To achieve this, they took the same triple vow common to monastic orders: perpetual poverty, chastity, and obedience. Arriving at Jerusalem, reclaimed from the Turks during the First Crusade in 1099, they hurried to the Holy Sepulchre, the site of Christ's crucifixion. There, as all good pilgrims did, they etched a cross in its stone. Then they approached Baldwin II, the Christian king of Jerusalem, to ask for royal patronage. So impressed was he by their piety and their modest demands that he assigned to them a portion of the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount, a structure said to have been built on the site of the original Temple of Solomon. The band of brothers came to be known as the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Solomon. Later, the name was abbreviated to the Knights Templar. To illustrate their humble aspirations, they took as their seal the image of 2 knights sharing a horse. With the official sanction of Pope Honorius II and the enthusiastic support of Bernard of Clairvaux, de Payon's cousin, the new military order flourished. To ensure their own salvation, kings and noblemen donated money, armor, horses, and land. Templar bases, or preceptories, sprang up throughout Europe. They recruited new members, instructed them in the rule, and even gave them military training. Soon, from their own storehouses and preceptories, the Templars were sending supplies and men to their operations in the Holy Land. The sons of nobles, they had spent their youth preparing for war. Joining them was a young Flemish knight, Gerard de Riedfort. Gerard had taken service under Count Raymond of Tripoli, on the understanding that he would be granted the hand of the heiress Lucia on the death of her father, the wealthy lord of Bottram. Instead, Raymond gave Lucia to an Italian merchant in return for her not inconsiderable weight in gold. Gerard now wed his fate to the Templars. In a ceremony both secret and sacred, Gerard committed himself to God.
You seek what is a great thing, but you see us from the outside. You cannot know the austerities of the order. For when you wish to be on this side of the sea, you will be sent to the other side. And if you want to sleep, you will be awoken. And if you wish to eat, you must go hungry. Now, decide, good gentle brother, if you could tolerate all these hardships.
From this day, his life would be ruled by two books, the Holy Bible and the Templar Manual.
Too much talk is not without sin. We altogether prohibit idle words and wicked outbursts of laughter. No brother should swear when angry or calm, nor should he ever say an ugly or vile word.
Unlike other knights, the Templars cut their hair short and grew beards. They also vowed absolute chastity, a vow reinforced by their pledge never to bathe or to change their sheepskin drawers.
None of you may presume to kiss a woman, be it widow, young girl, mother, sister, aunt, or any other. The knighthood should avoid at all costs the embraces of women, by which men have perished many times.
To guard the route to the Holy Land, the Templars built a chain of forts. To pilgrims, these whitewashed outposts gleamed like beacons. Inside, they were as austere as the knights themselves. In 1184, with the Holy Land once again threatened by the armies of Saladin, the Muslim Sultan of Egypt, King Baldwin IV of Jerusalem dispatched Arnold de Tarouga, the Grand Master of the Templars, to Europe to preach a new crusade. But de Tarouga died suddenly at Verona, and Gerard de Riedfort, who had risen rapidly through the ranks, was elected to replace him. In 1189, he would lead the Templars against the Muslim-held Acre. The port of Acre, a major naval and trading base, had not only the best protected deep-water harbour on the Palestine coast, but also the most formidable fort.
This town is good and strong. bounded and fortified by the sea, and protected by good, large, deep moats lined with stonework from the bottom. The towers are high and most powerful.
Under the overall command of King Guy of Jerusalem, the Christian knights set about besieging Acre. But before long, Saladin appeared with substantial reinforcements, and the Christians themselves were under siege. On a crisp morning in October, the order went round to prepare for battle. Gerard to read for was only too happy to comply. The knights first donned a quilted jacket to pad his torso. Then 20 pounds of chainmail made of thousands of interlocking ringlets, small enough to deflect an arrow. Over his armor, a surcoat to protect the metal from rain, sand, and the Mediterranean sun. Then a hood of mail to guard his neck. And last, his iron helmet.
You could see there an incomprehensible number of armed men. There were so many shining coats of mail, so many glittering helmets, so many noble horses neighing, so many white mantles, so many knights of great probity and daring, so many banners that never had such a crowd appeared to be reckoned up.
The Templars, wearing their distinctive red cross with blunt wedge-shaped arms, called the cross pate, on the left breast of their white robes, rallied around their Grand Master. Held aloft was their black and white banner, a reminder of the battle between good and evil. Its motto stiffened their resolve, not for ourselves, but for God. Before the fighting began, Gerard led his Templars in prayer, reciting the Psalm of David.
Not unto us, O Lord, not for ourselves, but for God.
The two enemies were as unlike in warfare as they were in faith. The Crusader knights were heavily armed and preferred to fight at close quarters. The Templars fought as a formation. Their discipline was scorned by their comrades, but respected by their foes.
Their first attack is the most terrible. In going, they are the first. In returning, the last.
The Muslim horsemen were lightly armed and preferred to use the tactics of hit and run. Unlike the Crusaders, they felt no shame in fighting at arm's length, nor in living to fight another day. The Pope would hear how his knights fought that day.
On the 4th of October, we joined battle. Altogether, we were 4,000 knights and 100,000 foot soldiers. However, our enemy Saladin had 100,000 knights. Nevertheless, we were armed with the sign of the Holy Cross.
The Templars charged, holding their lances low to pierce the Muslim armor. Closing with the enemy, they struck out with their swords. Those who were dismounted fought on with sword or axe for victory or death or disgrace.
Should any of them, for any reason, turn his back to the enemy, or come forth alive from a defeat, or bear arms against the Christians, he is severely punished. The white mantle with the red cross, which is the sign of his knighthood, is taken away, and he is cast from the society of his brethren, and eats his food on the floor for the space of a year.
No knights were disgraced that day. In their eyes, God fought with them. Allah abandoned his followers, and they in turn deserted the field.
They fled before our swords, and we pursued them up to their very tents. We managed to kill 500 of Saladin's knights, far more than we had hoped. While we were engaged in battle with Saladin, 5,000 knights left the city and made a sudden attack on us. We still managed to hold up against Saladin on one side and offer courageous resistance on the other, before retreating to our camp. But for God, our men were killed on that day.
Among them, the Templars' Grand Master, Gerard Torifo. The siege went on. Among the Crusaders, food was scarce, disease rife. Many died, others deserted. But the Templars stayed on. It was beneath the dignity of the knights to do such menial work as breaking down walls. Instead, they undermined Acre with money. Templar gold was used to buy siege machines. Led by the English king Richard the Lionheart, the Christians spent the summer of 1190 trying to reduce Acre. Having filled in the moat, they brought up the battering rams. Then they wheeled a siege tower towards the defenders, but to no avail. Finally, in July 1191, after a stubborn defense of 2 years, starvation forced the city to yield. A month later, ignoring the Templars' advice, King Richard pushed on to Jerusalem and was defeated. For the next 100 years, the battle for the Holy Land continued. Across the sands of Palestine, Christian armies ebbed and flowed. Oblivious to the tides of fortune, the Templars held fast in their isolated fortresses. No other Christian knights knew the land or the enemy so well. Both as warriors and diplomats, the Templars kept the Muslims at bay. In 1291, 100 years after the fall of Acre, the Templars were again fighting for the city, only this time from the inside. Unlike the defenders before them, they refused to surrender. So they perished. The Templar Code forbade the expense of burying a knight. Instead, his body should be thrown to the dogs. At Acre, the dogs ate well. The rest of the Holy Land went the same way as Acre. The ordeal of 2 centuries of resistance had proved too great. 20,000 Templars remained in the land they had fought so valiantly for, their souls already departed. But as an order, the Templars survived and even thrived. During their time in Palestine, they had become skilled not only as warriors and diplomats, but as merchants. Despite their vows of poverty, the Templars had grown so rich that they were the foremost bankers in Europe. It was now that the very church they had once fought so bravely for turned on them. Philippe the Fair, King of France, feared their power and coveted their wealth. With the Pope, he plotted their ruin.
They're so outrageously proud that one can hardly look them in the face. Tell me why the Pope permits them to misuse the riches which are offered them in God's service. It is a pity, in my view, that we do not rid ourselves of them for good.
On Friday, October 13th, 1307, on the orders of Philippe the Fair, the Templars of France were rounded up and tortured until they confessed to the crime of heresy. They were burned at the stake, and the proud order of the Templars went up in smoke. Until Christian soldiers fought for God, the Church had condemned war. From the ashes of the Templars, this ember would smolder. The idea of a holy war, a crusade, a time when God takes sides. In 1314, Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master of the Knights Templar, was burned at the stake. Legend says he cursed the Pope and the French king. Next year, he swore, "I shall bring you to stand judgment before the Almighty." Within a month, the Pope was dead. 7 months later, the King of France fell from his horse while hunting and died. Perhaps God had chosen sides.